If you're in a relationship where you're wondering if you should leave, you're probably also looking for some signs that you should maybe keep him and keep the relationship going. After all, it's so much easier to not throw away your current relationship. So today what I want to show you is some of the signs that you should see and should be looking for that you should keep trying with him, and why. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com and datingadviceguru.com. Welcome back to the dating and relationship secrets you need to know. Now, ultimately, it's up to you to decide if you want to keep trying with a guy. You may have heard me mention that the biggest mistake is not that women don't give a guy enough chances. The big mistake they make is they give a man too many chances. Guys know how to manipulate emotions almost as well as many women do. Let's face it, we're all a little bit selfish and we do like to manipulate. And we have our ways of using guilt and other psychological tactics to get what we want in life. We learned how to do this as what? As kids. And now we're using these same tactics as adults, only maybe a little bit more sophisticated. Wait a second, I thought we were evolving here, right? But you may genuinely be in a situation where you're not sure if this guy is going to work out. So let's talk about the signs that show you that you should keep trying with him. First sign is you are both really aligned. Now, what I mean by this is that you are going in the same direction in most of the important ways. When it comes to values, you both need to be on board with each other. The first and most important one for a relationship is that you both have to have the same direction around family. Do you both want a family? Do you both want kids? Because if there is any mismatch in this area, you're going to have conflict. And this is why it's so important that you find out his direction before you get into a deep relationship. Because at that point, it's too hard to get yourself back out. After you establish that he wants the same family goals, you need to look at your values and your direction in life. Your value systems also must be aligned if you want to find harmony for the long term. You have to have the same values. This may be one of those areas in the video where you're nodding your head and hoping that I'm going to move on quickly to something else, because you've heard all this before, right? But the truth is that I would be willing to bet that you have had several relationships where you are not in alignment and you glossed over it and it didn't work out. Am I right here? Sure, you were hoping that things would just magically change down the road, and of course they never do. And of course that means the end of the relationship. And it may not be the fun stuff in a lot of ways, but you better know for sure that he is right here with you on the same page, or it's just not going to work out. Next sign is he has integrity and congruency. Now, integrity simply means that he is whole, which means you can trust him, okay? Congruency is also huge. You've got to have that foundation where you can trust him and know that his actions will match his words. I'm sure you've had a relationship in the past where you dated a guy who didn't have integrity and maybe his words didn't match his deeds. If you think back to that right now, I think you'll see what I mean when I tell you that this is a really big deal. You can't install character in a guy. You can't just add it on later. You can't factory upgrade or change him to have good character. If he doesn't have it when you meet him, he will probably never have it at all. It's kind of sad to say, but it's one of those immediate red flags that can make you snap decision with just to know that there's no character and no relationship. That's what it's going to mean to you. If there's no character, there's no relationship. End of story. Next sign is it is genuine attraction. And what I mean here is you're looking for just a genuine attraction, that you are attracted to him for all the healthy reasons. Because the opposite is the fake attraction. That means that you're only attracted to him because you have maybe an anxious attachment style, or there's just only physical attraction. Now, what I mean by the anxious attachment style is that means that you never got really the love or approval you needed from your dad or your parents, so now you're trying to play this out in this longing you have inside your relationships. One of the ways you can figure out if it's genuine attraction is if you find that you are not cutting him any slack just because you don't want to lose him. Think about that. In fact, if you are making decisions based solely on the fact that you don't want to lose a guy, you should probably lose him. Genuine attraction means sexual attraction and emotional attraction. Hey, are you having problems getting a commitment from him? The first thing you need to know, and you have to know, is if he really loves you. If you want to find out, I've got a new quiz you can take. Go on over to datingfire.com/does he love you. That's datingfire.com, does he love you. Take the quiz right now, or just click the link in the description below. Oh, and before I get going with the next tip, keep in mind that your attraction for each other has to be mutual. And you also have to have this next important thing, Next sign is you are friends. Now, I don't mean this in the hope that the way you know how girls used to say that she needs to be friends first with a guy before she dates him, which was total BS, right? We knew this was BS, and this is something girls told each other, so that it didn't seem like they were being slutty for liking a guy purely because of their hormones. Look, everybody does this. Friendship is a huge component in a lasting relationship because it represents the goodwill between the two of you, right? There's an emotional safety here because you have an established connection in friendship as well. Relationships do need this, and relationships that only have the attraction and the lust factor, well, they always seem to crumble pretty quickly because they don't really have honesty and connection in them. Next sign is he's vulnerable and open with his emotions with you. Yes, I know this is probably the dream of every single woman out there, and with good reason. There is a certain level of emotional trust and emotional availability that you have to have with him. Just keep in mind that his level of emotional openness is never going to be at the same level as yours is, okay? Or the same level as your girlfriend's or any other female. Avoid at all costs judging him based on a female standard of emotional availability. A guy will never match that, okay? Men don't. However, he should definitely not withdraw or check out or disconnect when vulnerability does come into your relationship. You'll cause yourself unimaginable suffering if you get into a relationship with a guy where you're constantly wondering, how does he feel about you? How does he feel about you? How does he feel about the relationship? Where do you stand with him? You can probably think of a few relationships you've had where you were always wondering that stuff, right? And that leads you to feeling emotionally unstable and unsafe. The next sign is you are his priority. Now, I probably should have put this at the front of the list, right? Because about 90% of relationships could be dissolved right away if you look at this one factor. Many women rationalize and blind themselves to the fact that they are not really his priority. And of course, you don't need to be, if this is a casual relationship, you don't need to be, but we both know that you're not here because you want a casual relationship. You want a commitment and something more. That's why you're watching Carlos babble on and on like this. How do you know if he's making you a priority? First of all, he does things on his own initiative, meaning he doesn't have to be told to spend his energy and time on you. You don't always have to complain or get into arguments about what he's not doing in the relationship. Second of all, you know he's making you a priority if he gives you his time. To a guy, his time is one of the most valuable resources he's got. So if he's spending a lot of it with you and on you, you know he's probably into the relationship and probably worth trying harder for. By the way, one of the ways that men bond with other people and other men is through shared time. That's how men connect with other men, and it's how he wants to connect with you. Share time with him. Now, of course, you should also look at his limitations. If he's a single dad, he may not have the time for you all the time. He may have to make his kids a priority. Look at these things realistically. The next sign is he meets your requirements. What requirements, you ask? Why, of course, I mean the requirements you have taken the time to figure out. The requirements you have for a man and your important relationship. The ones you've got written down right now that you're looking at. You don't have those? Oh, well, wait a moment here. Let's talk about this. Okay, I'm being kind of a weenie here on purpose. I know for a fact that about 98% of women don't have standards or requirements for a guy written down. For the 2% that do, you want to guess how successful their relationships are? Phenomenally successful. They have much more success because they've identified what they will take in a relationship and what they won't take. They have standards. If she needs a man that is spiritual and open-hearted, and she's more likely to meet that kind of guy if she has made that commitment on paper and written it down. The universe just has this funny way of giving you exactly what you ask for. And no, I don't mean in a bogus, just wish for it and the whole law of attraction will just appear magically on your doorstep. I mean that you have genuinely thought this through and have tuned yourself in to the mental image of the guy you want. You got to know exactly what you want so that you know exactly what you don't want. If you know exactly what you want, you won't waste your time in relationships that aren't working. And ultimately, that will give you the sign you need to keep trying with him. Hey, you might be wondering right now if the man you're in love with loves you back. If you're wondering and you want to find out more, and this relationship has what it takes for you to stay with it, to keep going with him, then do yourself a favor and take my quick quiz. Go on over to datingfire.com/Does he love me? Maybe you're wondering if he loves you or if he's just wasting your time. Well, it's time to start getting some answers. Go on over to datingfire.com/Does he love me? It really is time for you to stop winging it. Stop improvising. Stop hoping that magically destiny is just going to deliver this guy to you. If you're probably tired of destiny screwing you over, it's time to make it work for you. Oh, and hey, before you go on, there's probably going to be a new video that's going to be up on the screen in a moment. But before you go, do the big three. Like and subscribe. That's number one. You got to get these videos every single week. Number two is you want to turn on notifications. So click whatever button is next to that on YouTube. It's a bell icon. Whatever video you're watching, make sure you subscribe so that you know when the next video comes out. And if you're already subscribed, please share with somebody that you know. Spread the word about my videos so that women everywhere can start getting the success they deserve. And number three, make sure you comment below. Did you agree with what I was saying? Is there another kind of video that you want? Do you want a part 2 to this one? I do try to read the comments every week, and I try to respond to as many as I can. Again, that video is going to be popping up here in a moment. This is Carlos Cavallo. As always, live and love with passion.